Hello everyone, this is Shoddy Noctales, and tonight I am doing a very insightful stream actually. I'm doing a stream for my dad and his ancestry for this podcast. In the last podcast I had done a kind of a stream, if you will, for his wife, Julia as it were, very good friend of mine as well. But for this stream in particular, I am going to be focusing on my dad's ancestry and focusing on his story and the roots of his ancestors, as it were. And I'd like to share at the beginning of the stream that my dad actually his first name is Sigifredo, but really that name comes from the Norse word, not only the Germanic derivative of Siegfried, but it's really from the Norse Scandinavian source of the word Siggy. Now, for a very long time, the name Siggy was known to kind of be kind of a namesake for a dragon slayer, as it were, and it had come from the Volsunga saga, which would have come out of Scandinavia. And they speak about the Volsungas, or the descendants of the Volsunga, settling in a land known as Frankland, which is now modern day France and in that area, more so the north western part of Europe, actually. But I want to share a quick poem before we continue with the stream because I feel it's very important to share this poem to kind of share an alternate timeline of the name of my father, where instead of Siggy killing Fafnir wholeheartedly, there's a different timeline or outcome, if you will, that I have written myself for this story. So, there once was a son of Odin named Siggy, who slayed the supposed evil named Fafnir. Yet in an alternate timeline, when he was about to deal the final blow to Fafnir, he could see tears coming out of Fafnir's dragon eyes as well as his own. Siggy then saw his father Odin appear before him, yet instead of being in the form of a human, he was in the form of a dragon, with Siggy being in complete awe that the dragon he sought to slay was his father. Siggy then proceeded to bend his knee to Odin, as his father shook his head and said, "Arise, my son. There is no need to bow down before me. Know what makes you worthy of Valhalla is not how great you once stood, but by how you pick yourself back up even when you have fallen to the depths of Helheim, as you walk again towards the Rainbow Bifrost." Siggy then realized in that moment he was the dragon, as he changed into the form of a dragon, seeing himself no longer as a force of senseless malice and destruction, but as a guardian and protector reclaiming his self-sovereignty. So this was a poem that I had written a while back, and I am glad that I am sharing this poem again with you guys because I feel this piece is very kind of timely, as it were, as my Uncle Herman says, in describing my dad's name and again part of his healing legacy, as it were, as we continue ahead. So, without further ado, let's go to the samples. So, as you can see here, my dad, he really is a mixture of different people. One of the people he's mostly related to is the Native American Indians, and this would be more so from my father's mother's side, and as well as so it'd be basically his mother, his grandmother, and probably from his father's side, the mothers of his fathers is where he would have gotten this the Native American lineage, as it were. And I know not everyone knows about the Native Indians. I've actually met people here in, in the States and in America or the U.S. rather, um, I've met a Vietnamese American where he didn't even know what the term indigenous meant, and I feel it's important to share the story, to share the kind of roots, if you will, of the, some people might call them the red man, but they are really, they've been in these lands for thousands upon thousands of years, just like people in Scandinavia, Spain, and Ireland, and anywhere else really in the world for that matter. So, without further ado, let's get this started. The ancestors of modern Native Americans arrived in what is now the United States at least 15,000 years ago, possibly much earlier from Asia via Beringia. This is one kind of note. Another note is they could have also sailed through the Pacific Ocean and through parts of the Polynesian islands, actually. Some also say they would have maybe even have come from Hokkaido, Japan. And I can kind of verify that from my own ancestral lineage that I had seen on there was this one website I used called Genome Link that told me I was related to a Jomon Potter, from 4,000 years ago, and I imagine that was one of the groups that eventually came to the Americas later on, which probably contributed to the mitochondrial haplogroup D. And for those who don't know, I'm going to pull this up really quick so you guys can understand the ancestry of the Native Americans. You see here how, depending on what part of the Americas you're in, if you're more so in the north, the haplogroup tends to be more so situated with the haplogroup A, which would be kind of be like a signature of the Diné people, as well as the Athabascan from Alaska, and the Pacific Northwest Indians like Tlingit and Haida. And then you can see how as you get further down south, you get more of a signature of haplogroup B, and then that's further as you get particularly into the southwest and a little bit into the northern part of South America. And to me, these are what I would call almost like the temple builders, or these were in my opinion, the builders of like the Mayan temples, the temples in Peru, and all the elaborate structures that were constructed that even rival the marvels of Egypt, as it were. And then haplogroup C is you see it's partially in the north and also in the south in particular. To me, this is a signature of not just only Paleo-Siberian, but really probably later Siberian groups that had come to the Americas and had contributed to the kind of the population DNA, if you will, of the Americas. And then haplogroup D is more so a signature of really of the Jomon people, of the indigenous people of Japan and that area. And then you'll see like a mixture of X2A, and some people have said that that signature came somewhere from the Middle East, maybe from the Levant or somewhere in that region, which is quite interesting. And then haplogroup L, I'd have to research more into that one to kind of get a better idea. Could have a signature from Africa or even India, but I'd have to look more into that. But for the sake of this video, we'll focus on the four major haplogroups A, B, C, and D for the sake of this one, because I think those will be the four that will be important to kind of hone in on, as we dive further into this live stream. Just drinking some hot water, as it were. Definitely good during the cold weather. All right, so we can read more of this if you guys would like to listen. Talks about the land bridge that connected Siberia to present-day Alaska during the Ice Age. Migrations may have begun as early as 30,000 years ago, which, yep, there it is. Early inhabitants, called Paleo-Americans, soon diversified into many hundreds of culturally distinct nations and tribes. Numerous Paleo-Indian cultures occupied North America, with some arrayed around the Great Plains and Great Lakes of the modern US and Canada, as well as those who had gone further south. This is a fact. As well as in adjacent areas to the west and southwest. Okay, so it does mention it. According to the oral histories of many of the indigenous people of the Americas, they have been living on the continent since their genesis, which is true, described by a wide range of traditional creation stories. Other tribes have stories that recount migrations across long tracts of land in a great river, believed to be the Mississippi River. Genetic and linguistic data connects the indigenous people of this continent with ancient Northeast Asians. All right, Northeast Asians, or really ancient Northeast Eurasians, which was actually a group that had broken from modern day Europeans 20,000 years ago, actually. And I can even pull this up regarding uh, the haplogroups R and Q on Wikipedia, just to give you a better idea of the, I think it was here, haplogroup R. There was something I had seen here. Haplogroup R and Q. Yeah, let me see. Yeah, ancient North Eurasians. You'll see this is an ancient group from over 25,000 years ago. It's a branch of ancient North Eurasian people mixed with ancient East Asians, which led to the emergence of ancestral Native American, ancient Beringian, and ancient Paleo-Siberian populations. Significant ancient Northeast Eurasian ancestry can be found in Native Americans as well as in regions of Northern Europe, South Asia, Central Asia, and Siberia. It is also suggested that their mythology may have featured a world tree. Oh, Yggdrasil, or oh, okay. Here's the link here. Yggdrasil is something that is spoken in Norse myth or Norse folklore, as well as um, there's also a term for world tree in Celtic and Gaelic for the Irish. It's Crom Beneath. Probably could do better on the pronunciation there, but or the world tree in Irish. Cran Betheth. Yeah, yeah. So this is also an important thing to note as well. And this oh, okay. Yeah, the gateway to the Fari realm. All right, there we go. Um, there should be a signature here about something about haplogroup R. Yeah, it'll say because there was there was a little tidbit I had seen here. It said here Western derived from the ancient North Eurasian haplogroup R, indicating an early link between Europe and the western edge of the steppe belt of Eurasia. Yeah, so set around I think over 20,000 years ago. R and Q were essentially one group, and R is the major descendants of modern day Europe, actually. And they had separated into two groups. As you can see here, Europe nowadays is populated predominantly in the west by R1b, in the east by R1, no, in the west R1b, the east R1a, and then the north more so the I haplogroup, with the south being more so J. I being more so Norse, J being more so Greek, Balkan, and even to an extent the Jewish and other uh, populations from the Middle East and potentially even North Africa as well. Um, so yeah, this is kind of a snapshot, if you will, of kind of the overarching theme of what would connect the modern day Europeans with um, the ancient, really ancient North Eurasians who eventually became Native Americans over 20,000 years ago. At least as far as the paternal line is concerned. Yeah. Maternal line would be a little bit different from the mothers, but from the fathers, is really more so connected. If you go far back enough. Ooh. All right. So we got that out of the way. Sorry about that. Um, it just takes time to kind of explain it to really bring it to the surface because I have so much to share, and I try to really condense it as much as I can to where people can understand it in the best way. Um, so it seems like my dad is also related to a group of unknown, a group of people that were once in Greece. The Abantes were an ancient Ionian Greek tribe whose home was the island of Euboea. They were not Ionians themselves, but rather assimilated into Ionian customs and culture. Aristotle believed the Abantians were originally Thracians from the Phocian city of Abia, who had once colonized the island in prehistoric times. Myth claims the first king of the Abantes was the son of Poseidon, god of the sea. They had a reputation for being fierce spearmen and a warlike people. Well, when you think about the word Hermon, it really means spearman, so kind of funny how that works. Herodotus states that many Abantes from Euboea established colonies in Chalcius in Asia Minor. I'm probably butchering some of this, but I'm doing the best that I can. Homer describes them as wearing their hair short in the front and long in the back to prevent enemy warriors from grabbing their hair. I guess which was a custom at the time for some. If you see, okay, so if you look at the ancient groups, and I have kind of talked about these groups in past videos, so I'm going to do what I can to summarize, as my Uncle Herman would say, because uh, so in a previous video I spoke about the Aurelians, which are essentially uh, a group of ancient Balkan warriors that really had populated much of the northern and even southern Balkans. So if you look at a map of the Balkans of Europe, the Balkans being more so really Croatia, Montenegro, Albania, also Bosnia, Serbia, and also Macedonia and parts of Greece. This is where the Aurelians would have been, and they would have fought in the ancient Trojan Wars on the side of Troy. And they probably were also genetically related to the ancient Pelagasians themselves, the ancient Greeks, and may have even have been the Milesians that had went to Ireland from Spain later on, and when they had fought the Tuatha De Danann, and or maybe even the Tuatha De Danann themselves could have had a connection because um, one of the queens of the Aurelians, her name was Tebuta, and it sounds very similar to Tua. Um, this would have been an image of her. She was really a fierce warrior, as it were. And it's again, if you look at the spelling, it's very similar. And I wouldn't be surprised if there would be a connection between Tabuta and Tua. It's just too close of a coincidence to be otherwise, in my opinion. Um, seems like there's some kind of funny images here of Tabuta, but this is actually a good one. I think I like that one. Uh, yeah, she was really a fierce warrioress rather. Um, all right, so yeah, so you see here, yeah, especially this one too, because this was kind of a large defeat for the Roman legions. and it's something that you know was a prominent event in history. So, and then you have the Pannonians, which were more so an Aurelian tribe to the north that inhabited parts of modern-day Hungary and those areas. The Gallo-Roman I mentioned was groups of essentially people in Gaul that's probably a mixture, maybe like Celts and Gaels that um, kind of over time adopted some Roman customs when as the Roman Empire expanded at the turn of the from before Common Era to after Common Era. Um, Roman Hispania is more so in Spain and Portugal. So these would be tribes that would be Celtic Iberian tribes that inhabited that area. That also eventually mixed with the Romans over time, or adopted certain Roman customs. Uh, that's just why they use the Roman Hispania, Gallo-Roman. But at the end of the day, they are still also Gaels and Celts and that sort, and their own ethnic groups too. And then also you have the Franks here, and the Franks were essentially a group that actually probably had come from the North Sea, and they were one of the tribes that now inhabit. Their modern day descendants have inhabit a large part of France and even parts of England and other areas, as well as contributing to the Normans to an extent, which were a mixture of Norwegian Vikings and French, or they might have been a combination of Franks, Gallo-Romans, those sorts of things. And then they eventually, went to England and also other parts of Ireland, actually. And it was said that the Normans became more Irish than the Irish themselves, and so that is also something that is noted. And over time, thankfully, they got along well with the Irish and kind of became part of the group, if you will. And I can link a video regarding that if you guys are interested. Here's also a group of Romans, which, I can explain a little bit about it. Oh, I guess I already have a wee bit. Um, Here's Gepids. Now, Gepids would be interesting, actually. I'd have to see. I think my dad's wife, I think, also got this group as well of Gepids. I'd have to pull this up real quick. Let me see here. Sorry, I'm gonna try to get this. We'll see if it'll load or not. Sometimes it takes a wee bit. Yeah, it's because being unresponsive for whatever reason. Okay, so Gepids were a Germanic tribe related to the Goths, described as tall and blonde-haired. The Goths, I mean the Gepids fought alongside the Huns against the Roman Empire around 440 AD. Later, the Gepids founded a kingdom known as Gepedia in the eastern region of the Carpathian Basin. They helped form a coalition to fight the Ostrogoths who ruled Pannonia, which was another branch of the Goths. They reached their peak in 537 and settled further near modern Serbia. In 546, the Byzantines allied with the Lombards and crushed the Gepids. Any remnants were defeated by the Avars in 567, who took over all the former Gepid lands. So as you can see, Serbia and Hungary in particular was really a battleground, if you will, for a very long time. And it would really kind of be situated more so in really Hungary, Slovakia, Ukraine, and parts of Romania as well. the Great Hungarian Basin or Plain, if you will. Oh, and then also I mentioned in one of my streams about the Germanic Cherusci who, under the leadership of Hermann Siegfried, defeated 3 Roman legions when Caesar tried to conquer or lead a conquest of his legions in Germania. And then here's also the Gauls. These would be have been Celtic and also potentially even Gallic tribes who inhabited much of, well, really France and also parts of Spain as well. But in this particular case, it would talk about eastern southern France. Yeah, Equintine towards Spain. Yeah. Gauls practice animism and worship animals. Druids preside over human and or animal sacrifices. The Druids were key to preserving festivals in the lunar solar calendar, and that's a keynote there. And now, at the time, the tribes were, we weren't always the most, there were some things that were a wee bit bloody, as it were, but, I hear it saying Gauls would nail heads of enemies to Wales, or not Wales, walls, or not, dang, we're not nailing them to Wales, guys, I promise, or even to the country of Wales, or dangle them from their necks of horses to instill fear. I would focus more so, yeah. So this was, I guess, part of what was described of what happened in the past. But the keynote here is really the connection with the festivals and the lunar solar calendar, and this can be seen in certain certain Gallic or Celtic holidays that are practiced not only in Ireland but even in Scotland and other places, such as the observance of Lunasa, which is a festival in the summer, or towards like the end of summer, and then Beltane, Bealtaine, which is a connection from the uh, the vale closest to the Fey realm. Samhain is essentially Halloween, which is where the veil is the thinnest, and uh, and then there's also the solstices as well. The winter solstice were the difference between where you essentially have the shortest daylight, and then or the longest night, and then the summer solstice is when you have the longest day, as it were. And so yeah, these are just a few of the festivals that I figured were worth mentioning, as it were. The Scordisci were a Celtic tribe that really had come from kind of the east into really, Western Europe essentially. And they were really more so situated in the Balkans. And this could also be maybe how one way Scotland could have gotten its name, because Scordisci and Scotland sound very similar actually, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a strong connection there. Andalusia is more so from what I can guess, the influence of kind of groups from North Africa, such as of course, you had the Amazigh and the Berber people who were indigenous to the region, the Morocco, Canary Isles, and those areas. Some of them had come into Spain, but also you had other groups such as, uh, well, you had some Muslim converts, from indigenous North African tribes. Not all of them, though. Some of them actually kept their roots. And others, had come from further east from Arabia and other areas, as well as Egypt. Um, Now, not everything was necessarily bad in when when uh, when what you would call Muslim Arabia was a thing, in some respects. It says here um, that there was a cultural exchange and cooperation between Muslims and Christians. Under the Caliphate of Cordoba, Andalusia was a beacon of learning, or Andalusis, or well, I should say Andalusia, but was a beacon of learning in Cordoba, became one of the leading cultural and economic centers of Europe and the Islamic world. Achievements in trigonometry, astronomy, surgery, pharmacology, agronomy. I think agronomy, I'd have to check what that term means. Um, let me see here. Science of soil management and crop production. Okay, so yeah. Oh, that's actually pretty good. And other fields all come from here. For almost its entire history, Andalusia was in conflict with the Christian kingdoms of the north. The Alhambra Palace in Granada reflects the culture and art of the last centuries of Andalusia, or Al-Andalusis. Um, yeah, Andalus. And then we have a connection to the Belgi tribe, which were essentially some may say a Celtic tribe to the far north, also maybe potentially uh, somewhat connected to the Gaels, potentially. Some even say connected to the Germanic people, but this was a fierce tribe that's inhabited the north of Europe. Uh, Probably also maybe having a connection to Belgium, because, well, it's in the name as well. um, and yeah, and then sorry about that. Gonna see if I can pull up particularly the Belgi, because I know my dad. He always talks about Belgium this, Belgium that, Belgium, 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 Belgium. So we might as well, you know, kind of showcase the Belgi, as it were. I'm gonna see if I can get this to keep on going. I don't know why. Let me refresh the page. Let me see if this helps. I'm also going to turn off the internet connection of my phone. Let's see if that helps. Hopefully you guys are finding the stream insightful so far, though. I'm actually glad I can do this for my dad, because I know he's wanted this for a while now. Let me see here. Let's see if I can pull this up. The ethnic name Belgi comes from the Proto-Celtic word Belgi, Bolgi, which means the people who swell with anger or battle fury. These Celtic people lived north of the Gauls and Aquitani and differed by language, custom, and laws. Caesar considered them to be the bravest of the Gallic populations, as they were furthest removed from the refinement of civilization of Rome, as well as constantly warring with the Germanic tribes to the east. Caesar himself suffered his greatest defeat at the hands of the Belgi, but finally subdued them in 57 before Common Era. Belgi tribes also settled in Britain, populating many parts of the lowlands, with the key centres in Colchester, St Albans, and Silchester. These settlers introduced a heavy plough to the region, which greatly expanded the usable farmland. So there's a connection there. Then this was the Thuringians I had mentioned earlier, and it was said that these people really had come from an area of Denmark known as Angland, and that's, I guess, what the region was called at the time. And they had migrated from the north to the south into really north central Germany in a place called Thuringia, which is known as the Emerald Heart of Germany today. And they were seen as essentially the forest people, or essentially the ox people of Scandinavia. So they were more so, seemingly enough, agrarian, or more so people that were connected to the trees and to the waterways, as it were. Um, then we have the Samnites, which is an ancient, well, not, well, I wouldn't say ancient, but they were a tribe in Italy, actually, that's southern part of Italy, that's rebelled against Rome on many occasions. They were really fierce warriors. Um, oh, and actually, the popular Roman gladiator class Samnite was later named after these people of Senium. So maybe that's where the term of the gladiators really had come from. Um, then you have different groups of other Goths that, the Visigoths that came to Spain, Ostrogoths that were more so, I guess, closer to the Balkans or Eastern Europe. The Thracians were a group also in really one of the ancient groups of the Balkans and Greece. I'm gonna pull this up. Oh, I think I'm doing pretty well so far as sharing all this, which I'm actually glad. Oops, my bad. Seems like it's being a wee bit unresponsive again, but we're almost done here. Here's the Etruscans as well, which were one of the original kind of groups in Italy before the rise of the Roman Empire. Um, sorry, I want to at least pull up the Thracians before we continue. Um, gonna see if we can't, then we'll see if I can just refresh the page. I don't know what's going on with this tonight, but it's okay. It happens. Um, oh well, it's okay. Just a fact of life. Let me see if I can pull up the Thracians. So if not, we can always go on. Um, but I really would like to at least talk about the Thracians a wee bit before we go. The Greek historian Herodotus claimed the Thracians were second only to the Indians in number, and if it wasn't for their lack of unity, they would be the most powerful in the world. The lack of unity led to the Thracian defeat of King Darius of the Persian Empire in the 6th century BC, or before Common Era. After the Greeks defeated the Persians in 479 before Common Era, most Thracian tribes were united under the rule of Terus I, who ruled the Adurician kingdom. His son Stilichus enlarged the kingdom to a regional power stretching from the Aegean to the Danube. When the Peloponnesian War in Greece began, he allied with the Athenians to fight against the Macedonians and Spartans. The alliance with the Athenians lasted about 100 years until the Thracian Adurician kingdom threatened Athens. However, after King Cotys died, the empire split apart and Philip II of Macedon arrived onto the scene, ending true Thracian power and independence. So that is something to note there. All right, so let us continue now with different groups my dad would be related to. We'll start with groups from Europe. I was telling my uncle Herman that this part of Europe my dad was related to, Egeo Trans-Ural Russia. To me, it's almost like maybe like the crossroads of those who had gone to Europe, and then also those who had maybe who had gone east to Siberia and later to really the New World. I have to see, where does this haplogroup come from? Uh, Hungarian conqueror, Goth, Shangnu, Mongolia. Okay. Oh, yeah, so that's haplogroup N. Yeah, so this group would have come from Eurasia. It has been observed at lower frequencies, including parts of the Balkans, Central Asia, East Asia, and Southeast Asia. East Asian, or arose from East Asia, 20,000 years. It's been found indigenous peoples of Russia, Finnic people, Maori, Udmurts, Turkic, Latvians, uh, Japanese people. There you go. Honshu. I think even there might have been a connection. I don't know if there was like a connection also to the Jomon as well. Yeah, a little bit to the Ainu to an extent. Yes. Okay, that makes sense. And then you can see my dad. Here's Gallo-Roman, Lombard. Uh, so my dad, as far as like his, kind of connection to people from Europe, at least with the samples, it's not as high as compared to other users, but it's still there. Um, yeah, so Thuringian tribe. So here we go. And then you get further down into groups from Spain, Rome, Aurelians from the Balkans, Andalusia, Croatia, Serbia, Hungary, also Hungarians, I guess the Avars. I think also his wife Julie also, Jewel also got this as well. Um, and yeah, this was kind of like the coming of like some of the invaders from the steppe, as it were, which wasn't the prettiest of histories, but fortunately over time things did heal, thankfully enough. Central Asian, late Kushan Empire, Gaul and Aurelian. Okay. This man belonged to the mitochondrial DNA haplogroup D4. D4 would have come out of that was really more so like a group from probably really Japan. Oh, let me look here. Uh, D4. Sorry about that. Yeah. So Japan, Middle Jomon period, Yokohama, Thailand. So the specific one that was related here was D4. Okay, so D4 B2A would be Japan. D4 B2B would be Mongols, Uyghurs, Tibet, South Korea, Japan. Um, D4. Okay, so it could have been Japan, Korea, See a lot of Japan and also some from China. Definitely in that group. Hmm. Kushan dynasty swayed over a territory that bridged the east and west. This was over 2,000 years ago. Oh wow. Well, there you go. There's a number of other groups here. So these are the European groups matched to my father as far as here. You can see some of his top samples, one of them being Bulgaria, actually, from 5,000 years ago. These were related to the people of Gaul, I2A2. I2A2 is a haplogroup related to Y-DNA, I2A2. Yeah, as a peak in Germany and another in the northeast of Sweden, but also appears in Romania, Moldova, Russia, Greece, Italy, around the Black Sea. It's been found in over 4% of the population only in Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Denmark, Scotland, and England. Also the southern tips of Sweden and Norway in the northwest of Europe, the provinces of Normandy, Maine, Anjou, and Perche in northwestern France, and Provence in southeastern France, Tuscany, Umbria, and Latium in Italy, Moldova, and other parts of Russia, Eastern Europe, also in Sardinians as well. And if you see a map of, I'm going to also see if I can pull this up. Y-DNA, haplogroup, Europe. So if you look at the haplogroups here, I2A would also have a connection to um, South Slavic groups and also parts of Sardinia. So you see a lot in the Balkans, um, also parts of Eastern Europe as well, and kind of that area. Even small bits in uh, more so the Nordic countries and northwestern Europe, and also parts of Spain as well as in Portugal. Um, yeah, and then that's there. Bronze Age, Serbia, Croatia, Iron Age. Yeah, so all right, so let's get to the American samples, which my dad actually has a high percentage with, because aside from my dad being European, he's also a large portion of Native American as well, or at least a good amount. Um, so here's kind of a sample of kind of this would have been more so a mixture of groups from the Americas and also from Spain as well. This was when, unfortunately, there was a kind of a mass kind of sickness that was occurring in the New World during the earlier parts of history, which was a shame. Unfortunately, that is no longer the case, but that was in fact something that happened during that time. That is important for us to remember. Um, yeah, and you can see here, this would have been more so, probably more so like a mixture of um, the natives and Europeans at the time. Um, Here's Iroquois tribe, And it says here the individual was from the St. Lawrence Iroquois village site of Drawlers dating to the early 16th century AD, approximately 75 kilometers southwest of Montreal. This grave includes hundreds of complete and fragmented bone tools and manufacturing debris. These bone tools included projectile points, harpoon heads, needles, chisels, flakers, beads, pendants, and pieces of the cup and pin game. Oh, interesting. Projectile points had a conical shape and beveled distal ends. These were related to the Pima tribe, which would be currently in the southwest, but this is more so of a distant kind of connection here. Um, there's also Panama, Pacific coast of the Americas. These would have been in kind of a mixture of North Amerindian tribes and the Mayan people. Let's see here. So, you have matches here. Iroquois again. Oh, here's the Athabascan tribes. Okay, so this one's really interesting because I know a lot of people say, are most people from Latin America, are they really natives? Or do they have, ancestors that came from the north? Well, they do actually. And you can see here with my dad's sample, there's kind of a closer relation here with the Athabascan people, or really, I guess some people would also refer to them as the Dene, who really had come from the north, from Alaska. They had traveled down south as time progressed in history. Um, Now, I will say that when I was looking at like an ancient sample I had, with some native samples I had, I think I was related to like an Athapascan, or at least like like what they would call and like I know the some of the Inuit people do not like this term, the Eskimo, but it was a sample from I'll even pull it up actually just to kind of clarify it because um it was sample of A2, A0. So this would be kind of seen from the people of Greenland, so Selk'uk, Chukchi, and you can also find this amongst the Apache, um, Mexican, and other groups, Peru, Ecuador, uh, Dogreb. Dogreb was a tribe. Dogreb. I want to get this right because I also told Hywapatia. Hywapatia is a YouTuber I watch, and I'll see if I can link her uh, a link to her channel. Actually, she's of Lakota, Mayan, Cherokee, and Hawaiian descent, and she actually was interested in watching my podcast when I finish it. So I wanna make sure I get this right, or at least as best as I can. But no, so the Dog Rub tribe were located, yeah, Athabascan speaking North American First Nations people inhabited the forested and barren ground areas between the Great Bear and Great Slave Lakes and the Northwest Territories of Canada. So they really had come from the far north, really, is what it looks like. But this would have been well before the Navajo at least had come into the Southwest, or the Dene. I want to make sure Athapascan Dene. Dene or Athapascan is a family. Um, I imagine the Dene are probably just part of a larger group of really more so Athapascans who had come into the Southwest later on in history, through the Navajo and maybe other groups. Well, the Athapascans, some of them had come to South America well before the Navajo had gotten to the Southwest, is what it looks like. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking about. All right, so if you go further down here, um, so you see the sample of Ikven, Bering Strait, Russia. So it seems like there were some samples of you know, I guess because not all the natives necessarily came through the ice bridge, but maybe there were some that actually did. It seems like here this was more of a mixture of Native American and Saka and Hungarian conqueror. Um, or probably it makes me think of like maybe also people from Mongolia or those areas. Um, Saka were a group of nomadic people who inhabited the northern eastern Eurasian steppe and formed parts of a wider Scythian culture related to the previous Andronova culture. Their language formed parts of Scythian languages. They were encountered by the Babylonians, Egyptians, ancient Greeks, Persians, Chinese, as well as by the people of the Indian subcontinent, where they were known as Indo-Scythians. Sakas also invaded the Parthian Empire and parts of China. Great Greek historians recorded how the Saka overran Bactria, taking the place of the Greeks. They were known to wear trousers, tall, stiff caps, rising to a point and would carry bowls, daggers, and a battle axe known as the Sagurus. Interesting. Well, we're learning a lot tonight, actually. Um, these were really, looks like more so horsemen, really. They knew how to ride horses well, seemingly enough. Yes. Um, this would have been, but this was much later on in history. This was 825. These were related to, says here Eskimo, Inuit, West Greenlander, Inuit East, East Greenlander, Arctic Amerindian, Chukchi, and Haida. And if you notice further down, here's another sample of, oh, this sample would be related more so, same kind of Navajo and Apache and Haida, but also New Brunswick, Terra Humanera, Pacific Northwest. And here's a sample of Pacific Northwest Indians. Actually, I live in the Pacific Northwest, and I've always kind of felt like this place has kind of felt like home to me. And so this is one of the major native groups my dad would be connected to, actually, would be uh, not only the Athapascans, but really native tribes such as the Tlingit people, and I will actually pull them up. And these are a tribe that live in the Pacific Northwest of North America, Alaska being one of the places. And I remember kind of showing my uncle Herman kind of photos of some of the people of some of the native people of how they reminded me a little bit of um, my grandmother from my dad's side, Pama, as well as my aunt Maria and even my uncle William a wee bit actually. I'll see if I can pull this up. Um, let me see. There was a good photo I had about the Tlingit people, but yeah. I'm glad I'm sharing this. This really is kind of cathartic, really good thing to do, I think. Let me see. Um, you can see here how it's really, these were really a warrior people. Um, they still are. That's what people need to remember, that they're still here. Um, even if it's through the rainbow, and this is what we remind them of. Um, yeah, I'll have to see what was the photo that reminded me most of my dad, some of my relatives on my dad's side rather. Um, yeah, I'm also gonna pull up the well, let's see here. Hide, there was like a really good photo I had that was really. I'm gonna see if I can just pull it up here. Give me a moment. Cause again, I just feel like it was really just a good photo. Um, give me a sec here. Hold on, let me see if I can. Uh, okay, so if you guys can see this photo, this was one of the photos that I don't know if you guys can see it or not. Gonna see if I can, if this loads. Um, gonna check something here. Okay. Well, anyways, this is kind of like a photo that, if you see the elder on the left, she really kind of reminded me a lot of, at least somewhat facially, like of my grandmother, Pama, actually. And I'll see if I can get a photo of her as well. It was just like something that really kind of stuck to me because I always remember, the laughter of my grandmother and how I always had a good time when I would go to her condo and spend time with her. It was always really a pleasant experience. And I'm gonna see if I can pull this up. Let's see, copy. Uh, don't worry. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I always love this photo of my grandma. It's always a really nice photo. Yeah, so this would be an image of my grandmother. This would be my dad's mom, and I always just loved like the energy that she would share when I would spend time with her, and should always say really nice things, when I would go and see her, and even on her deathbed, she told me that she was really happy that, she had a beautiful grandson, and that always kind of stuck to me. So I know they look a little bit different somewhat, but there were some features that reminded me a lot of this elder right here on the left, and also my grandmother, you know. So I figured it'd be nice to share that. That's probably where I get some of the Pacific Northwest ancestry. Um, and also, this was another photo that my father, or not my father, but my Uncle Herman had shared with me, of when they had, when his great grandfather Cleves, or Jose Miguel Cleves, so that would be on his father's, not father's, so that was the husband of his grandmother and my great grandmother, so that would be Lita. That would have been her husband. And so I'm going to see if I can post this. Yeah, so if you can see here, this is a photo of them in Colombia, actually. This is from what my Uncle Herman told me. And my great grandfather, Jose Miguel Cleves, is on the right here. and above him is my great grandmother, Lita. And so I still remember Lita. She would always have a smile on her face when she would see me, and it was just like with my grandmother. She was always very, very kind to me and very sweet, and I always have fond memories, indeed. So I'm thankful that they've been part of my journey. Part of my rainbow, as they say. Um, yeah, no, it's always good memories, indeed, when I think of them. Um, so here's another sample that my dad's related to. Here's North American Washington State from 8,000 years ago. So for anyone who wants to say, yeah, the people from Latin America, they're not native Indians, well, that is incorrect because some of their ancestors did come from the far north, not only just from the southwest, but even as far as Washington State and Canada and even parts of Alaska. So that has been thoroughly debunked, as it were. Um, yeah, and then here this caused a controversy because at the time, um, the skull looked more so Caucasian than what they were used to seeing, and this might have a correlation to ancient North Eurasians, but also really to the Jomon people of Japan and Hokkaido, who would have looked more so like this. They would have grown long beards and had long hair. Because most people, they think that East Asians look, pretty much the same, but that is not true. The indigenous Jomon people looked quite different actually, and at the time they looked more so European than they would have looked more so East Asian, or as most people think of, also Han Chinese would be another term. Um, and so if you see here, this would be like an image of in Japan because there's still the DNA of the indigenous Jomon people. Most Japanese, even if they are mostly of Korean or Yayoi Korean and Han Chinese ancestry, they still have around 10 to 20% Jomon ancestry. And so this would be more so a person of a Jomon person on the left, and more so of a Yayoi person on the right. And then you can also see here, this is another kind of example of a Jomon people on the left, Yayoi on the right, and then a mixture of both in the middle. Um, and then also the Ainu people, I think is important to discuss as well. This is an indigenous group of Japanese that still live in Hokkaido. And actually, part of my native ancestry connects to the Jomon people of Hokkaido, to these people. Now, over time, they had other groups that had mixed with them. I think one of them was the Otosk people, and those people would have, I think, have come from further in the north from Russia, I believe, eastern part of Russia. Um, but yeah, no, the Ainu people, they have been an indigenous group of people in Japan for a very long time. Well, they are the original people, just like Native Americans in the Americas, really. And they have an instrument that they play that reminds me a lot of an instrument played in Patagonia, actually, in Chile, by the Mapuche people. Um, and I'll see if I can pull it up. It's kind of like a mouthpiece, and it's very similar to the Mapuche. It's not this. But it's more so um, kind of an instrument like that. But they would play it with their mouth, very similar to the Mapuche to the Ainu. And one thing I can see similarities between the Ainu and Mapuche is well, the reverence for fire, but also even if you look at the mitochondrial DNA and you see the haplogroup D, That would be another indicator of the connection between the people of Patagonia and then the people from the Ainu people of Hokkaido. And it would have been a long journey, you know, it wouldn't have been a journey that was easy to make because if you look at the distance between Hokkaido and Chile, we're talking about almost a 17,000 kilometer journey, but it was a journey that was made. Um, and yeah, these people are related. I still remember when when I was at my grandmother's house, Pama's house, where she would play these videos of like the Pacific Ocean, I believe, and it always would remind me of Japan to an extent, you know. So I actually went to Japan a number of years ago, and the Japanese actually treated me very well. I think learning to speak in their language really helped, like saying a few things like arigato, which means thank you, sumimasen, which means excuse me, and I was even invited by a Japanese family to eat with them, and it was quite the pleasant experience, I have to say. I had a really good time. So, um, and then here you can see native. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up here. There was like an image I saw that was an article that I saw that kind of connected the Mapuche and the Ainu and also the Selknam as well, which was a tribe in Tierra del Fuego in the southern tip of Chile. Um, yeah, I'll see if I can find it. I actually have like an image of it too. I'll see if I can pull it up real quick, just so you guys can see it. But yeah, I have a strong kind of inclination that the Patagonians, or particularly tribes further south in South America. I mean, there was also connection, I'm sure, with the Ainu in with the Haida and Tlingit people, because you know some of their the designs of their clothing is very similar, especially their regalia. But I also have the same feeling with the tribes from Patagonia for sure. I'm gonna see if I can pull this up. Here. And actually, some of the Patagonians were really tall, actually, some of them being 6 foot, over 6 foot one, which would rival, you know, some of the heights of tribes in the north. Um, Let me see if I can pull it. Yeah, so this was just kind of a comparison of how there could be a comparison between the people of Chile or the indigenous people and then the people of Japan or the you know, even if they over time they had become more Yuyoi or maybe even some admixture with the Han Chinese, they still had that indigenous Jomon ancestry that would connect both of them. So that would be, and maybe that's one reason why a lot of Japanese eventually settled in South America. Eventually, was maybe some kind of deep ancestral connection, which would make sense. All right. Hopefully this is all still streaming. Um, let's see here. Yeah, so okay. Yeah, so here also um okay, so I try to see how to condense this as best as I can because it is a lot of information. Um yeah, I just wanted to share that tidbit. So if you see a lot of the ancestry of the Athabascans, it's actually pronounced with a P than a B because I think that's part of how you would pronounce the language. Athabascans, they had the ancestry of A2, which would be more relegated to kind of a migration of people from the north, it would seem. Um, and yeah, I'm gonna see if I can pull this up. So yeah, you see how in the north you see more of a mixture or kind of a residence of the haplogroup A2, and as you get further south, it becomes more of a B haplogroup a wee bit, and then you see the D down here, particularly in the Pacific Northwest, parts of Florida, and also here in South America. And actually here, I guess 16 might be Cherokee country, and that's where my Uncle Herman has been with the Cherokee for over 40 years now. Seems like actually down over there, it'd be actually a good mixture of people that were B. Okay. I'd have to I'd have to make sure this is the Cherokee tribe. This could be another tribe, but it's at least on the northeast coast. So B, and you have some D as well. Um, then A, um, so Athapascan, and then C as well, and also a tiny bit of X, which might be a connection to some um, ancient connection more so to the Levant in that area, Middle East. I know sometimes people say that the natives, maybe some of the lost tribes of Israel, and I could actually can pull this up, just to really hone this in as far as the haplogroup X. It is found in North America, Europe, Western Asia, North Africa, and Horn of Africa. Haplogroup X is found in approximately 2% of native Europeans and 13% of all native North Americans. Additionally, the haplogroup is present in around 3% of Assyrians, so from Syria. High concentrations in Erzurum, Turkey. Notably, the haplogroup is essentially common at 14.3% among the natives of Bahrahi Oasis, Western Desert, Egypt. Alright, the X1 subclade is much less frequent and is largely restricted in North Africa, the Horn of Africa, and in the Northeast. And it says here is strongly represented in the Near East, the Caucasus, and Southern Europe, and somewhat less strongly present in the rest of Europe. The highest concentrations are found in the Ojibwe. So the Ojibwe people would be, the Anishinaabe people, or this is one term for Turtle Island, Anishinaabe, Turtle Island. Also the Lakota or the Sioux people, the Nuu-chah-nulth people, so for the Pacific Northwest, people from Georgia, from the Caucasus regions, Orkney, so Scotland, Druze Assyrians, community in Israel. It's not present in South American Amerindian populations. Well, maybe it might be. Maybe some of it maybe traveled that far south, you never know. But the oldest known human associated with X2 is Kennewick Man, whose 9,000-year-old remains were discovered in Washington State, which, well, my dad was related to. Me to an extent as well. Which could also be related to the Jolman, potentially. Um, might have been like maybe some kind of an ancient Atlantean connection, or some people might also mention Lemuria. I think Hypatia would probably know a little bit more about that. Um, let's see here. Here's also Chaco Canyon. So this would be more so, in my opinion, when I think about Chaco, I think more so like the well, here it says, there we go, ancient Puebloan people. And to me, I feel like the Pueblo people were probably the ones who really, I almost kind of see them more so as like the temple builders. These were, you know, like I think of like the Mayan temples and things like that when I think about the haplogroup B. Um, yeah, I'm gonna see where the Pueblo people Mayans related. They're more closely related than they be seen. That's what I was thinking. Yeah, there's a connection. Pueblo Mayan. Yeah, I'm not surprised. There might have been kind of like maybe like eventually like an intersection between these two cultures, because it would have been in the Southwest. Um, and this is where I think the temple builders really this would have been more so their the lineage that would be more so connected to them. Well, which to an extent I guess is connected to us a wee bit as well, or at least to my dad and a wee bit with me. Um, yeah, here you can see it's kind of a mixture of Amerindians, so indigenous people in North America, Mayan, Athapascan from the Pacific Northwest. So you can see here it's a mixture of tribes. This is what people need to understand, especially when they talk about people from Mexico crossing the border. A lot of these people are not just Spaniards. A lot of them are, or not, or even just tribes from Mexico. They really are a mixture of Native American tribes from the U.S., really, or what is now the U.S. Athapascan tribes from the Pacific Northwest and other groups. This is, and also here Mayans. It is a fact, and it's important to recognize that. Um, Here we have Russia, Bering Strait, Greenlander. Get more of the A haplogroup. Mongolia, parts of Cuba, Chile. And as you get further down, you have more of a connection also not only with the Mayans, but also the Incas as well, down south. So really it's a mixture of the condor and the eagle, kind of coming back together. Here you have the ancient Native American Montana sample from 10,000 years ago, and also Brazil, Holstein pre-pottery 8,000 years ago. Uh, yeah, right. Yeah, so that would make sense. Um, yeah, it really is a mixture. Um, and this is an important thing to note, as well as the reunion between the eagle and the condor being tribes from the north and then tribes from the south, or the masculine and the feminine kind of coming back together. And I'll also link a video to that in the video in the description of the video as well. Yes. Um, Here's also Aztec way down here. It seems like some of the Miztecs and Aztecs might have mixed together while others didn't. To me, the Miztecs were really a tribe that had come from the Pacific Northwest, and their story, their origin story, really mirrors that of the Haida of the connection with the cliff. So if you look at the origin story of the Haida from the Pacific Northwest, well, they talk about the raven as well, but there's something about the cliff that I want to point out. Um, I'm gonna see if I can kind of find the keyword there. Yeah, the cliff was formed by volcanic action uh, under a clamshell. But there is a mention of a cliff actually in a video I saw, and I can also um, mention that or link that in the video or video description. But the Miztec had a very similar kind of connection with the cliff. Yeah, building a cliff to live on above the water. Yeah, and it was the same, pretty much almost the same one for one with the Haida. And if you look at the mitochondrial DNA of the different tribes, you'll see how the Tlingits, be the ones who, for the Pacific Northwest, Alaska, northern Canada, how they would have more so the highest connection with the Amerindian or haplogroup A. Then you have the Haida, then different groups of, but at least here they're saying Eskimo, but also Inuit people. And then Miztec is right here. So I have a strong feeling that the Miztec really had come from the north. Um, also the Aztecs as well, but the Miztec, I think it might have even have come earlier than the Aztecs. Because I know there was kind of a battle between them. Yeah, it says here in the 1400s, the Aztecs, who ruled a much larger empire to the north, expanded into the Oaxaca Valley. They eventually conquered both the Miztec and Zapotec, but not completely, not without a fight. Both civilizations fought the Aztec Empire off. And so, and then eventually the Aztec Empire was eventually defeated by a coalition of Spaniards and different native tribes. Um, yeah. Apparently, it seems like some of the Aztecs were like some of them were a mixture of B and others of A. Yeah. I'm trying to think here. Because there was like one here, like Quetzalcoatl or Kukulitz. You see here how it says a Hungarian conqueror, Yayoi, Rorian Khanate. Um, and you hear it has like Shangnu, Mongolia, and that area as well, which probably also needed its own healing as well, really. Yeah, and also you have ancient Peru, which were already a mixture of different tribes as well. Yeah. But yeah, it's I'm actually glad I'm doing this video. It's actually I think it's gonna do a lot of healing for my dad, who will probably be watching this. So if you look at ancient people my dad would be related to, now this one was pretty interesting because I also got this one as well. So somehow I don't know how this became the case of where you have a person in ancient Italy that is somehow connected to the Fujiwara clan of Japan. These were Yayoi people that and introduced Buddhism to Japan. They somehow found their way into ancient Italy, allegedly. Unless if this sample is incorrect and it talks about, this would have been. I mean, maybe this is where also my dad gets his whole Northeast Asian or the East Asian kind of thing. He always talks about. I don't know, but these are, these are kind of different parts of China, Mongolia, Vietnam, Korea. But this is where, but they weren't ethnically Han Chinese. They were kind of their own group, and they would have eventually have been the people of the Korean Peninsula who would have eventually gone um, to Japan. after introduced rice cultivation to the Jomon people. So here's a Frankish grave in Anderton, Germany. Anderton, Germany. Where is this located? Cleves, Germany, distance. Okay, so this area is closer. It's more so getting closer to the eastern. Well, more so like central eastern. Well, let me see. How close is Anderton to Hamburg? Because I know my dad's wife had a correlation to Hamburg. Okay, so it's really kind of like 2 hours south of Hamburg. Yeah. Um, Talks about a Frankish grave, tells a compelling story of the individuals who lived during this tense period and transformation coalition or consolidation. Uh, oh, here's the Cheruski. There's Hermann Siegfried right here. These are related to modern-day French, South Dutch, Flemish, West German, Catalonia, Galicia, Portuguese, and Southwest English. So this is a sample my dad is related to, and these are, different kind of groups. Clan Russell, Ryder, Howsett, Lily, Skold. Um, Talks about different areas in England, Netherlands, Germany, Sweden, France. Here's also a sample from Hungary. Yeah, Gaul, Gallo-Roman. Oh, House Seymour. I know my dad talks about that. Clan Mercer, Clan Blair, and different parts of northwestern Europe as well as Hungary. Croatia. There's the Aurelians. There's the Warriors of Troy. And then here you can see the ancient connection to Achaean, Mycenaean Greece, 3,500 years ago. As well as other groups. Here's Croatia, the Aurelians, Achaeans, uh, kind of ancient Greek Balkan ancestry. Slovakia. Central Roman. A place called Schla. Female to male ratio is 0.65. So I guess there were a lot more males than women then, seemingly enough, at the time. Iron Age, Hungary. Here's the Scordisci, the Celtic tribe. Montenegro. Okay, this is ancient Mannonian, Achaean Greece, Celtic Slovakia, or Celtic Iron Age Slovakia. Among the traces of their lives left for modern historians to puzzle over, a particularly significant discovery was the remains of a Celtic woman who lived and died during this period. Tangible whispers for a long time. This woman belongs to a culture that thrived during the Iron Age, a time when the Celtic tribes were prominent across much of Europe. Their arts, beliefs, and a way of life were deeply intertwined with the rhythms of nature and the land they inhabited. The artifacts accompanying her remains provide a narrative of her status and identity with this historical tapestry. Um, Imperial Rome, late Roman, Imperial Roman, a lot of Brilliant, Avar, Shla. Okay. In the rolling landscapes of Hungary, nestled amidst the Carpathian Basin, a fascinating glimpse into the past lay hidden until recent times. A burial that told the story of a migration era warrior dating back to the 7th century. This individual belonged to the Avars, a nomadic people who, after the collapse of the Hunnic Empire, established their dominance in parts of Central Europe, including what is modern-day Hungary. The warriors, a male of significant historical interest, gave us a compelling look into the genetic history of the Avars. Its Y-DNA haplogroup R1A, often associated with Eastern Europe and Eurasian, intermingling mitochondrial DNA, J1B. So this would be like a mixture of Gaul, Roman, but more so also connection to R1A, Kosovo. Yeah. Yeah, see here, here's the connection to Mongolia and that area. Shangnu people. And here's my dad has a 5%, so just like how his wife Julie had a or Jewel had a connection to Kennewick Man, or not Kennewick Man, Cheddar Man. My dad has a connection to an ancient North American sample from Montana from 12,000 years ago. In the rolling hills of what is now called Montana, which is actually a state that is next to mine, in Idaho, a strange discovery was made that shed light on the earliest inhabitants of the Americas. Dating back to the last ice age, approximately 12,600 years ago, the remains of a young boy were uncovered, providing a rare and intimate glimpse into the life of the earliest Native Americans. This young individual, a male child, was found with a treasure trove of artifacts, suggesting a burial of great significance. The grass was surrounded by more than 100 red ochre-covered stone tools known as Clovis. Points and bone tools assemble characteristics of the Clovis culture, named after the distinct projectile points associated with North American's Paleo-Indian period. So this would have been over 12,000 years ago. And at this point, closest samples here would be connected to the Pima people, which, live in the southwest. The Inzec people, who would have lived more so in the north. The Mayans, actually. Well, Maya, Lucenio tribe, which I believe lives in California. The Miztec people, which I just mentioned earlier. Um, but I think the Miztec also have a connection to the northwest. Um, so here let's talk about Inca Peru, Machu Picchu, Mayan Mexico, and these areas. Okay, and oh, perfect. Mitochondrial DNA, D4H3. Um, let me see if I can get this. So here, D4H3 would have a connection to Thailand. It's Thai Yun people. South America, Chile, Peru, but also it's not too far away from the Japanese or the Jomon as well. But the Thai Yun people, who were these people? Because I watched a video of recently of a YouTuber from Thailand who actually spent time with a Mayan or well a Mexican lady that was actually predominantly of Native American ancestry. Um, yeah, this would be kind of an image of how some of them might look like. Yeah. So yeah, there's kind of like the gateway of also the potential connection to Southeast Asia as well, or the Southeast Asian ethnic group, if you will, that are not, again, not just Han Chinese, as it were, but really their own group as well. I'm not trying to downplay the Han Chinese. I'm just trying to educate people. There's other groups as well. All right. Deep dive. So if you look at my dad's, if you look at his ancestry, um, genetically speaking, a lot of the samples he's related to are Native American, which would make sense because my dad's ancestry would be, oops, my bad, more predominantly going to be around like 30% Amerindian. Let's see if I can pull this up. Oh, sorry about that. Let me get back to my dad. Yeah, so Native American, as well as, and it even says here, you share DNA segments with your deep dive matches. This chart represents a union of all your deep dive matches weighted per total synapse you share and their individual classification. Yeah, so definitely a lot of Native American ancestry as well as Roman and Aurelian, Pannonian, Cherusci, Scordisci, and Gallo-Roman. So here it's kind of like more so like, at least in this particular case, be kind of like a mixture of European and also Native American Indian. So these are the facts. And I was telling my Uncle Herman if my dad did the whole blood quantum test thing, he would probably pass the 25% requirement that they have. I hope hopefully they do change that in the future. Like hopefully they'll be able to find a way to maybe be more inclusive potentially. But again, that's all depending on the tribes as well and how things continue ahead. I just I myself just continue just going with the rainbow. So um let me see if I can somehow pull this up. This is just kind of a neat little. Let's see if I can get it to work. Usually it pops up just fine. Um, Interesting. You can see here though, my dad has a lot of segments with Native American populations as well as Roman, Gallo-Roman, uh, Aurelian. Uh, where's trying to see these other groups. Cherusci, yes, the Cherusci are there too. And Scordisci. So you can see a lot of that there. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So here it's telling you the DNA synapses my dad's connected to a lot of ancient Native American Montana. A lot of that. A lot of that. Also, some Roman, or really, this would be more so Hungary, mixture of Hungary and Roman. Cherusci, Scordisci, Pannonian, Aurelian, and Gallo-Roman as well. And see the bigger the kind of the map, the more um, kind of prevalent it is, as it were. Um, so yeah, there's that. Then these are just kind of genetic distances that my dad has with different groups. And then this is just different groups he would be connected to, at least as far as in Europe, which would be Spanish, Portuguese, um, French, South Dutch, as well as a variety of other groups as well. And actually, with the admixture, I'm going to pull up Genoplot for this, actually, because I think it'll be good. But I'll show this one as well. This is just showcasing. My dad has a pretty, kind of, he would pass the whole the quantum thing with flying colors, but you know, for the sake of this video, yeah, no, he would have a high percentage of Native American Indian ancestry with some Siberian and Southeast Asian. Also some ancestry from the Red Sea, East Mediterranean, West Mediterranean, West Asian, Eastern Europe, Baltic, Atlantic, so northwestern Europe, or well, really the whole Atlantic coast of the west of Europe. North Sea, Scandinavian, some sub-Saharan African, Northeast African, and Oceania, actually. And then here's just a further breakdown of, you know, my dad having a connection to tribes more so North America, the connection with Mesoamerican tribes, and then South American tribes. I think there was also Arctic, Austronesian, but also Melanesian. I think there was also, wasn't there Arctic Indian? At least I got it. Well, he got 1.1%. For whatever reason, I got like 0.93 or something. I guess the DNA kind of shuffles around or something like that. But yeah, this is what my dad had gotten. Oh yeah. So I want to show this to you guys because this is what my dad got when I put his DNA as a connection with MyHeritage by Supreme, and so this is kind of like a further breakdown of what his ancestry would be with modern populations. So you can see here how my dad has a strong connection actually with the Irish, which I know it sounds silly because like I feel like for a lot of the video I was talking more so about the connection with the natives too, aside from the beginning with Scandinavia. But no, my dad has a strong connection with the Irish and Scottish, probably from his, I'd imagine maybe from his father's side, if only because the ancestry goes back to Ireland and Scotland. But though there could also be a connection maybe from his mother's dad's side as well, potentially too. Then here's some of the native lineage as well. I already talked about the Miztec, and then to me the Zapotec people were more like a mixture of North and South, and they were there for a longer period of time than the Miztec who came later. The Miztec, I believe, were known as people of the rain, and then the Zapotec were the people of the clouds. So the best way I can kind of describe it is they were both fierce warriors in their own right, and it seems like they both had fought against the Aztec Empire, you know, at the time. But yeah, they are their own fierce warriors, which would make sense. I actually watched a video of a Zapotec elder, and she was saying, you know, don't call us Latinos, you know, call us for what we really are as indigenous people. And I would never want anyone to ever take that away from her, or for anyone else, for that matter. And so that is something that is important to understand and to respect. Um, yeah, no, it's an important thing to do. So, and these would be the Miztec people, and to me, I really get more of a northern connection from them, that they had come from the north. Maybe the Zapotec people did as well, but I feel like the Miztec had probably more of a recent migration. Um, At least that's kind of what I imagine. All right. And then also, my dad is related also to the Amazigh people from North Africa. So the Berber, Tunisian, Chin. And the Amazigh people, I love learning about them because they have their own history, their own kind of story to share. And there's a symbol I connect with the most from I think it was called the Yaz symbol. And I love this symbol because it has has a deep kind of connection. It's essentially, um, it's the symbol of, well, the Berber of North Africa, but it's also a representation of freedom, essentially, of the liberty of man's oppression or liberty from oppression and and the like. And it's a very important symbol from essentially releasing oneself from awe, from one's shackles, as it were. And it actually looks very similar to a Norse symbol as well, that I actually brought up to my dad and his wife's attention the other day. Uh, there was something here like that. I think it was like the out. Yeah, yeah, this one. So it looks very similar to this symbol. And I have a feeling that probably the Yaz symbol and the Ilgiz symbol probably has a connection. The only difference is, yeah, you have remained grounded and has paid off. Now you can afford to take some risk. Um, yeah. The only difference I can see with this and the Yaz symbol is, they have both like the line in the middle, and they do have like a symbol of one going up. They only miss the one also going down. Actually, there's one symbol that looks very similar called and I was actually thinking about it the other day, the El hole symbol, which has the connection with the south as well as the north, which I think is the balance between the feminine and the masculine. Yeah, so my dad, he again has Irish, Scottish, and Welsh, but he also has a good chunk of native lineage, which is true. And also North African, which is also true. Um, yeah, it's kind of cool how that works, right? Um, yeah, yeah, and I would suspect it would also be connected um to the Amazigh people as well. Um, yeah, a lot of good hearts as well. And then my dad also has a connection to people from French Brittany and to Dutch as well, which would make sense because his great grandfather Jose Miguel Cleves, came from Cleves Castle, which borders Germany and the Netherlands. Also, my dad has a good percentage of Finnish. Also, connection to Bolivian La Paz, or people closer to the southern part of South America. And then they have, and I was actually reading more about the Selknam people the other day because I was really interested in them. Um, and they really have their own strength as well, their own kind of fortitude. Um, yeah. And then, of course, I've learned more about the Mapuche as well, which I think is equally important. These are essentially the samurai of the Native Americans. They actually really resisted not only the Spanish, but also or not only just people from Europe, but also the Inca Empire as well. When the Incas still had their empire, they had defended themselves bravely against them, and they are brave warriors. That is the best way to describe them. I really admire them, and also I'm glad that I feel a connection to them, a rainbow connection. Here's a connection with the Selknam people. The Selknam are very interesting because when I look at their regalia, it really reminds me a lot of Power Rangers. They that's the only thing I can think of. I just think about Power Rangers when I look at their regalia. Uh, I mean, uh, it's just something I really enjoyed, watching. And yeah, that's what I think of when I look at the regalia, which maybe could signify the connection between the Jolman and the Mapuche through the Polynesia or Pacific Ocean that they had traveled from long long ago. I love like one of the words of the Selknam people. They have a word for fire. I think they say hauke, and I love the way it sounds. Like it just really is just a beautiful kind of like word indeed. Um, so we go further, and there's also Native American Amerindian North ancestry. My dad's also related to 4.5%. So there's more so the connection also with a further connection with tribes from the north as well. And then also my dad has some connection with the Indians from India, and I know my Uncle Herman mentions something about that. The Punjabi Jats. Actually, Herman and I sometimes we watch this YouTuber known as Sadhguru, and it's interesting to learn, to watch some of his videos as well as the introduction of the um, kind of kung fu um, to China, as it were, from Bodhidharma, which was a guru of India. It's a beautiful story indeed. Um, there's the Norwegian ancestry, so my dad, in fact, he lives to his namesake, 3%, but it's still there. He is related to the people of Norway. He has some of the Norse in him, and it's not like it's the largest amount, but it is something that's is part of who he is as well. So, and there's also some English, some Maasai, Eskimo, Portuguese, Gambian, and Iranian. I think the Maasai people, Kenya. Okay, so he has some ancestry from sub-Sahara Africa. So, all right. So if you click on the oracle here, the oracle is essentially just going to say, kind of like which like what groups my dad would be the most related to genetically. So for my dad, he's most related to the Dutch, which makes sense because, well, Cleves is in the northwest of Germany, it borders the Netherlands, and I will actually probably share this video to my Dutch friend as well, um, just so she can watch as well if she's interested. But yeah, so there's a connection with the Dutch at 70%, 68%, native Miztec 31, same with the Zapotec, Austrian, and then closely with the Bolivian Cochabamba, Pando, La Paz, and more so further to the south. There's the Irish right there, 68, yeah. Irish, Austrian, and Amerindian North, so these are tribes further in the north. Finnish as well. Um, you can see my dad. He's related to the Finnish Maori tribe. I think the Maori are people in I think Polynesia. Yeah, New Zealand. Here we go. I know William, my dad's brother and my uncle. He talked about feeling a connection with the Samoans, and well, here's the Maori. And I've actually spoken to someone from New Zealand before. And I think she tried to help me learn how to say hello in Maori. Um, Kira ora or Kauto. Kira mai. Welcome. I like it. It's very homey. I like the way it sounds. So at the top, you can see it has very much of Finnish, Norwegian, Irish, and Turkish, Turkmen, Uzbekistan. Oh yeah, because they did learn that some of the natives were also related to people from Central Asia, not just East Asia, but also Central Asia. That would make sense for sure. You can see it here. Yeah. Welsh, English, Belgian. There's the whole Belgian thing he's talking about. Swedish, English, Cornwall, Spanish. There we go. At the top, and then you can see the breakdown of Finnish, Norwegian, Scottish, Swedish, Irish. My dad is pretty much more so Northern European than he is Southern European, seemingly enough, as far as like the genetic groups he'd be most related to. Um, yeah, Turkmen, Finnish, Dutch, Irish, Austrian, Belgian, Norwegian, German, Romanian, Ukrainian, Estonian, Scottish. I have to see who are these people that Azeri people. Iranian, Azerbaijan, but Azerbaijanians. Let's see. French, Brittany, Swedish, Polish, Welsh, Bulgarian, Swiss, German, English, Cornwall, Serbian, Spanish, Portuguese, and then Aleuther, Ashkenazi, Punjab, Basque, um, Egyptian, Mongolian, Amerindian North, Ethiopian, Eskimo, Zapotec, Cochabamba, Miztec, Eskimo, Tibetan, Han Chinese, Japanese, Cambodian, Korean. Okay, and then I'll share mine real quick, just as like just kind of as a more so like comparison. So, when you look at the difference between my dad and mine, well, this one isn't quite perfect because I think for this one it might be better if I quickly do the ancestry where it kind of breaks down like my Spanish component as well. And I'll see if I can do that. Um, I will do this real quick. Oh, this has been a long video, but I think it's been worth it. You know, it's been a good video, and it's been a long time coming. It has been, and I think it's been it's been a well needed video, really. Um, gonna check something real quick while this is processing. Okay. Okay. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, let me do something here real quick. Let me see here. Okay, so I mean I can do both as well. But this would be kind of like one kind of comparison where with my ancestry as compared to my dad's, I still got like I think like of course like the Irish and Scottish from my dad, or at least some of it, and then maybe even some from my mom's side potentially. Definitely for sure from my dad's side. And I also have well, a lot of like Swiss German, German, Belgian, Dutch, French, Provence, which I think my dad had more of like I think Finnish and also Norwegian actually. And well, he also had French, Brittany, and Dutch as well. So I probably got the Dutch from my dad, and then maybe some of the other parts maybe from my mum actually. Also have Andalusia, Aragon, Basque Spanish. Um, and then also I have the native ancestry from my dad's side. And then also North African, Sardinian. Um, and then, but yeah, if I do this one, it's gonna, let's see how it pops up. Yeah, so this one also, like, it does like a breakdown of like the ancestry here and also ancestry connection to Iran. Probably comes from like maybe some of the Aurelian ancestry and North African, the Amazigh and the Berber. I feel like if I have this ancestry, I have like a strong connection. If I had like any Iranian or Kurdish ancestry, I have like a feeling it might have come from, could have come from maybe, uh, I think it maybe could have come from my mother's father, Papa, potentially. I just remember he had just like the sweetest heart, and I've heard there's like a lot of people, contrary to what people believe, there are people in the Middle East, like I think the some of the Iranian groups or some of the Kurdish people are one group that they have some of the sweetest hearts you ever know. And so I always think about him, and he always had the sweetest heart, and he was a tall man actually. He's around 6 foot. Well, I'm 6 foot now. I actually grew, but I always remember, his heart and how kind he was, and so that's always stuck with me. Um, yeah. Okay, so let's continue with my dad. So this was one test I did, and what was the other one? Um, sorry, a 23andMe. Yeah, I think this was the other one. So if you see here, my dad has a strong connection with people from Britain and Ireland. So Britain also meaning Scotland and Wales and Cornwall. And of course, England. Um, and then also Native American is a strong connection as well. North African, strong connection. Berber, predominantly Amazigh, so indigenous North African. Finnish, large percent of Finnish. And I'll show a kind of an image of people from Finland, so you can kind of get a better image of what they would look like. I know my dad's wife spoke about the Finnish people as well. Uh, I know a little bit about them. I know a lot of people brag that they're one of the best countries as far as like economics and overall well-being. But yeah, my dad indeed has a connection with them. I guess different people in Finland can look different depending on the area. I didn't have as much Finnish as my dad. I think I leaned more towards I think Scandinavia, like more so like maybe Norway and Denmark and maybe parts of Sweden as well. My dad also had some Norwegian too, so that's also something to note. Yeah, Northern Indian Pakistani. Uh, if you look here, my dad's closest connections are actually, well, I guess it makes sense because even though they go back and forth of whether Finland is, part of the Scandinavian countries or not, the Finnish still have, like, if you look at a map of Europe, DNA Europe, and you look at kind of the ethnic groups, so you see, okay, so maybe that's where my dad got the whole Ural Russian ancestry from the N haplogroup. I think that's where he got that. Okay, that makes sense now. So my dad, from what it looks like, he probably some of his Finnish ancestry was like Finnic and Siberian. But you also see how the Finnish people from Finland also have a high percentage of the Nordic or the ancestry from Scandinavia, as well as R1B, R1A, and the like, the Central Asian. Yeah, okay, so maybe that's why my dad got that ancestry with the Finnish or this part, the trans-Ural. Okay, that makes sense now. Okay. Is this in Finland as well? Hungarian, Goth. I guess it'd have to be. I mean, that's the only thing I can think of. Visigoth. Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. Yeah. And there's a lot of different kind of phenotypes in Finland, I guess. Like if you look at the overall, um, I know a lot of people have the stereotype that they're all at least some of them believe, blonde hair and blue eyes and all that. But no, Finland actually has quite a variety, really. You see, East Nordid, Uralid, North Lapid, Scandolapid, Lapid. So it's really more so of a mixture than people realize. You see, which would make sense. Yeah. Um. Okay. But yeah, for all intents and purposes, my dad's closest groups would be British and Irish and Native American, Scandinavian and Native American, Eastern European, Finnish, Anatolian, Central Asian, and then also Manchurian Mongolian, Native. There's the Japanese, so Manchurian is more so like Northeast China, Scandinavian. Oh, even Egyptian as well. There we go. Oh, North African, yeah. Yeah, so my dad's, the closest groups he's related to Central Asians, Anatolians, Finnish, Eastern European, Scandinavian, British and Irish, French and German, Iranian Caucasian, Greek and Balkan, Spanish, Ashkenazi Jewish, North Indian, Macedonian, um, Native American, Manchurian Mongolian, Siberian. Japanese, Indonesian, Khmer Thai, um, Chinese, well, there you go, Korean. Um, yeah, so that's more so like my dad. So my dad really, as far as like groups he's related to aside from Northern Europe, he really would have a strong connection with also people from Central Asia, which would make sense as far as how the genetics are concerned. Really like a mixture, which is not a bad thing actually. It's part of the rainbow. Um, yeah. That's the best way I can describe it. And then for me, and I've done this before a couple times. It's interesting how sometimes I get different results though. Um, I don't know why that is, but I guess it's just kind of one of those things that happens. But on the whole, I tend to it goes back and forth between British and Irish and Scandinavian at the top. The rest are kind of more so, you know, the same. But for me, I have the British and Irish, like my dad, but I also have the Scandinavian a little bit more than Finnish. And the only thing I can think about this one is that maybe it could also have come from some of my mom's side as well. Um, and then also Greek and Balkan. There's another one there. And then French and German. So these three, I think, could have had a big contribution from my mum. Then also North African, and then also this part, the Kurdish. I just have a strong feeling it would have come from my grandfather, Papa. It could have also come from my grandmother too, potentially. I'm not 100% sure, but again, I just remember the heart of my grandfather and of Theo Felipe, of how they really had the kindest heart, and yeah, yeah, and yeah, no, it was just something I always like thought about, that he really had the biggest heart. The Kurdish people are the guardians of their own destiny. It's like the healing guardian dragons, like healers. Just a really soft and warm heart. Yeah. See it with your mind, hear with your heart. Yeah, you see. You have the heart of a chief. There's nothing like a dragon's love to warm your heart. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I think about when I think about my grandfather, Papa. Just I always think about his warm heart. Just his yeah, that's what I remember. Um, but yeah, so we have that. Okay, so kind of thinking what else. Um, Trying to think here. Oh yeah, I was gonna do a map for my dad too, like a little graph. I know my Uncle Herman would appreciate this as well as my dad. Oh, sorry. Seems like the stream kind of went kaput there. come on. It's okay, it happens. Just, okay, so if you look here, with my dad, the closest groups he's related to here is mainly Swedish, Northern European, and then it kind of trails. I think there was one more test I could do before we move on from this because I don't want this to last forever. Um, I think there was 23andMe, but also my heritage. Oh, there's phenotypes as well. Yeah, NSA, Trondor. But I think there was like a test that was really good, actually. Yeah, Patagonia. Slivid would be more so North America. Centralid is Central Patagonia. Then more so the Northern Europe. Um, what was it? I don't know. Is it this one? Oh, Irish, Scottish, and Welsh. Um, there's like something here that I found. All modern averages. Yeah, but you get the gist. My dad seems like would be more so related to people from probably more so like the north of Europe, and then also some Finnish, and then it trickles down, and then also some North African and the like. Findo-Scandinavian, French, North Sea. Yeah, West Central Asian, Finno-Scan, North Sea, Iberian. Then I think there was like even like one more test, like it tells you like there's like this for like different groups. So definitely Finnic and he must have yeah, my dad must have just really had a lot of Finnic ancestry. I think for mine the one I connected the most was with the Rus. Um but no, my dad more so was really had that Finnic ancestry. Um, okay. What else were we going to talk about here? Okay. So, man, it's been 2 hours I've been streaming. I'm gonna start collapsing windows because I think we're gonna wrap this up pretty soon. Um, but I think we've done pretty well. Like I'm super glad that we have done this. I really am. I think it's gonna be great. Okay, so we can see here where my dad's ancestors would have been in different parts of Europe or what he would be related to. So there's the Cane, Normandy. There it is. Medieval British Isles. So my dad. Okay, interesting. So I don't know why. So like for my mom or for me, I had it was kind of putting me more so in County Sligo. For my dad, not in this map, at least. Let's see, ancient Brittany. There's London right here for him. Let's see, Switzerland. Anything for my dad here? Oh, there's one. Oh, there's a couple. Um, late Roman Brittany. Let's see, anything here? There's one. This North Wales. Not there. Ancient China. Just for giggles, yeah. Um, Ancient Germania. So for my dad, he has quite a few markers here. Thuringia, Munich, and then the west of Germany. One in Prague. I had a ton in Prague. That might have been more so for my mom's side. I'm not sure. Um, Aurelian Pannonia. Ton of samples here. Yeah. Roman Republic. My dad has a couple. Imperial Rome. Hungary. Then you have Gaul, France. So my dad has some here. Um, and also a town close to Belgium. It's always about Belgium. Ancient Scandinavia. Let's see. Anything pops up here? Uh, Not on this particular one, but it definitely has some Norwegian or some Scandinavian or at least Finnish from what I saw. It may not always catch in this website everything, but that's why I also use Genoplot because I think it dives also a bit deeper in some ways. Munich, okay. Andalusia, anything here in Spain? Okay, yes, we got Granada. Let's see, where's my dad's markers? More so in the south, southeast. Barcelona, though, yeah. Ottoman, Aurelian. I think there was like one that said like ancient. Oh, they have ancient Ireland locked now. Yeah. Oh well. Okay. So if you look at my dad's haplogroups, oh yeah, that's the one thing I'm gonna keep up, the haplogroups. Yeah, because I think this one's important. So if you see the map of Europe here, my dad, so R1B is Celtic, Basque, Italian, Frisian, and Saxon. So my dad has a good bit of that there, R1B. Um, let's see that. He also has the J ancestry, partially also mainly from the Aurelians as well. These would be more so from the Balkans and Greece. Um, yeah, mainly J2B. Then also E1B. This would be more so North Africa or connection with the indigenous Amazigh and Berber people. I2, connection with South Slavs and Sardinians. Um, R1A is more so Eastern European. G is, I think about Oldsie a little bit. My dad didn't get Oldsie though. I did. Oldsie the Iceman. But, yeah. Uh, this would be more so like my dad's Nordic ancestry from Scandinavia, the Norse. T, Valentia, Q. Oh, there it is. There's my dad's Native American ancestry showing up on his paternal ancestry, at least here. So D4H3 N L and O. Okay. Then here are some of the clans my dad would be related to. So Kilburn Castle in Scotland, Arrows of Glasgow. That's the same thing I got because well, it came from my dad's lineage. Um, yeah, so this would be in the west of Scotland, for those who don't know, leaning more towards the west. And Clan Gillen, which would be in Donegal, actually, Tyrconnell. So that would connection to um, yeah, to Ireland as well. I'm trying to see if I can um, continue. Oops, my bad. I might have to like close like something here because my computer's starting to kind of go a bit haywire. Okay, so let me close Microsoft Edge. Okay. Don't worry, we'll somehow find a way to get this back. Okay. Okay, yeah. No, we're doing well again. We're we're doing well again. Okay. Yeah. Then there's Tyrconnell, Donegal, and I'll send a message or I'll link a video regarding the connection with the Irish and the Spanish as well. Um, yeah, because I think that'll be a good thing to do. Okay, so my dad's also here's Schla, Hungary, Clan MacDonald, Finlagan Castle, and I think that's in Scotland. Yeah, I think. I want to make sure I get this right. Yeah, Scotland. Yep. At this point, it's kind of more so ruins. But yep, there's a connection there. Clan Henderson, Fordale Castle. Um, um, Clan Armstrong, Clan Hay, and this just shows kind of the connection of my dad and the different clans he was related to. One of them was Clan Gillen, which I got. That'd be from more so Donegal from Ireland, northwest of Ireland. As well as House of Delhi Paul. And I think I mentioned that was in the previous video about the Yorkists and the Manchesters, and the War of the Roses, and House of Savoy. Um, Italian royal house. Okay. Clan Donahane, Weir, Reader, Holst, Lily Skuld. And this is more so, that'd be more so, I think, Sweden. Yeah. Oh, this lady looks a little bit like my dad. Just a wee bit, I can see parts of it. Polish royalty, Clan Blair, Clan Mercer, Clan Crawford, Clan Hunter, Clan Cheyenne, Roderhorst. There's another one. Gullen, Sterna, Swedish nobility. Okay. Clan Cohulan, Cohonis, Clan Kirkpatrick, Clan Armstrong, Sutherland, Murray, Dower, Ryan, House Grey, Russell, Austrian royalty, House of Scottish royalty, McThomas, Paisley, Portuguese royalty, Clan Maxwell, Clan MacArthur. That's one of my mum's old neighborhoods. And a bunch of others. YDNA. This just shows like kind of like my dad's ancestries, with a lot of it being in parts of Ireland, also parts of Scotland, and also parts of Hungary. Not much from, well, a little bit from Spain, but let's see, maternal. Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure on this one. Um, yeah, there is the Native American ancestry there. Yeah, so this one's a little bit questionable. I'm not saying it's not legitimate. Um, but at least for now, you can say this is part of my dad's maternal haplogroup. I'll have to read more into it, but yeah, at least for the time being, this is part of it. Yeah, because you think like, I was thinking like since my dad's, well, I'm not 100% certain, but because usually like if you would have like if your mother's if your mother's mothers were more so Native Americans, you'd think you'd see more A, B, C, and D, but I don't know. Maybe there is something to uncover here. But yeah, no, you can see here there is like a lot of like of a connection to usually U5 is a connection to like Scandinavia, um, and then this would be a connection to the Thuringians, and also H is more so European. Yeah, I'd have to look more into that one, but for the time being, we'll just leave it at that, and we'll revisit it. I'm not 100% convinced on the mtDNA breakdown, but we'll look into it again. And then these are different royalties that would have been connected to my dad's maternal haplogroup allegedly, or there might be some connection there. At least maybe. Yeah, I'd have to do more research to know for sure, but yeah, I would want to, at least for the sake of this one, I'll just leave it at that. I tend to question things at times, which is not a bad thing. But again, we do what we can to share things to the best of our knowledge. So yeah, so here we go. DNA sample. Oh yeah, DNA Spotlight. Yeah, we're almost done. I just want to finish this. I know I've said that several times, but we're wrapping it up. We're wrapping it up. I'm trying to see if I can. Let me see if I can somehow reload this. Boy, this has been a long video. Okay, so you can see Viking Age England. At least it has a connection to my dad's maternal haplogroup, it seems like. So, and also my dad's paternal haplogroup. So it says Alfred II, known later as the Unready, was king of the English from 978 to 1013. And again, from 1014 until his death, he came to the throne at the age of 12 after his young half brother was murdered. The start of his reign, Danish raids on English territory began in earnest. Alfred defended his country by diplomatic alliance with the Duke of Normandy. The Battle of Maldon on 11th August of 991 involved 2,000, 4,000 fighting Viking men led by Olaf Tyr Guvason against the Anglo-Saxon leader Brunoth, who was the elder Mon of Essex. This ended in defeat for the Anglo-Saxons, and King Alfred was forced to pay tribute, also known as Danegeld, to the Danish king. This payment of 10,000 Roman pounds of silver was the first example of Danegeld in England. Pattern would follow. The Danish army continued ravaging the English coast until a Danegeld 22,000 pounds of gold and silver was paid, at which point Olaf Tyrgolfsson promised to never return. Viking attacks only grew worse. Danish raids would follow, leading to an even larger Danegeld payment of 24,000 pounds for peace in the spring of 1002 AD. The same year, Ethelred married Lady Emma, the sister of Duke Richard II of Normandy, in hopes of a stronger diplomatic alliance. On St. Brice's Day, 13th November 1002, the confident yet paranoid king ordered the killings of all Danes. Dang. Saxons and the Anglo-Saxons and the Danes were not getting along, it seemed like. Alfred described his massacre in his own words. A decree was sent out by me with the counsel of my leading men and magnates to the effect that all the Danes who sprung up in this island, sprouting like cockle amongst the wheat, were to be destroyed by mere just extermination. This decree was to be put into effect even as far as death. Those Danes who dwelt in the aforementioned towns striving to escape death entered the sanctuary of Christ, having broken by force the doors and bolts. Oh boy, that was skeleton of 34 to 38 fit fighting age males of large and extremely robust physiques were found under St. John's College. Boy, that was uh, crowned himself King of England. The Norwegian chief Olaf Haraldsson worked with Alfred to retake London and other parts of the country. Nutt and his army withdrew in April 1014, and Alfred got his revenge against the Danes. Not long after Alfred's own death, 2 years later, Nutt defeated Alfred's son Edmund Ironside in a decisive battle, and just a few months later, Nutt became king of all of England. A few years later, he was also crowned king of England, and later also became king of Norway and parts of Sweden. He's a strong and effective king, introducing Danish customs to English and also English influence back to Denmark. Nutt appointed several Englishmen as bishops in Denmark, and he married Edma of Normandy, the widow of Alfred. She bore Nutt a son, Herthoc Knut, who was succeeded by her own son with Alfred Edward II, known as the Confessor. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think that's what I read about with Julie's or Jules' connection to that the Saxons, or, and the Saxons or Anglo-Saxons, at least some of them, they really struggled with the Vikings. So Princess of Hasselben, so this would be from my dad's paternal lineage. I also got this as well from my mom's side, and this was pretty much a strong warrioress kind of chieftain of Thuringia, Roman gladiator of York. Jewel got this as well. The Roman conquest of Britain began in 430 AD, but resistance in the north was fierce. Roman general Quintus Petilus led the Ninth Legion to the north and founded Eberkim in 771 AD, which became York. Um, yeah, and then there were gladiators that would fight in that area. Roman fortress, close turn, Newburgh. This would be from my dad. In Austria, Crusader Knights, Lebanon. Arrived in the Middle East. Oh, okay, so King Baldwin the First of Jerusalem and King Sigurd the First of Norway captured it. The city was then recaptured by the masterful Saladin in 1187, only to be retaken by German crusaders in 1197. It remained a king crusader stronghold till the Saracen invasion of 1249. It was destroyed. Oh boy, it was a brutal. It was tough, but it's good that things are slowly changing, even though the Middle East, they still have things to heal from, indeed. Then these were the Carolingian dynasty or empire. Um, yeah, and this would have a connection to the Franks, Revolutionary France. This was the French Revolution, which actually my dad's wife also had the connection to it as well. Avar elite. Uh, yeah, yeah. The Avar people resettled people from as long as they paid tribute. Yeah. Eventually, the Slavic subjects of the Avars rose up against the cognate masters. Yeah, I think that's why the Slavs were known as the Slavs, because the Avars, and the Slavs, they were, at the time the Slavic people, were unfortunately subjected by some of the Avars, and then there was the rebellion. Uh, so that's why we remind them of as I say, the healing guardian dragons and the positive influence of them. And so, yeah. Let me see here. Okay, guys. I think I'm going to be ending the stream now. I don't think there's anything else for me to do, really. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Okay, guys, that was a long video, but in summary, because I know my Uncle Herman recommended me to do this, you could see how my dad really had a mixture of native ancestry, Irish, North African, Scandinavian, Finnish. Um, yeah, funnily enough, I don't know if I saw that much. Oh, I think there was some Spanish there, but Yeah, well, I guess from the Aurelians, yeah, Valentia, Cordoba, yeah, and then you look at the different areas, Galicia, Catalonia. Yeah, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed that. I hope you guys learned a lot from the video, and I hope you all found it healing. And I guess before we go, we can check the paleo diet. So wheat, bread, porridge, milk. Let's see. Alright guys, I'll be heading off for now. Hope you guys all take care. Slongafol. Bye for now guys. Hasta luego. Bye for now.